All right. So, a very, very good evening to all of you, and thanks once again for joining yet another Pathbreaker series from Wealthy Own Paths. And I think the life itself is very exciting and so unpredictable. And we normally, talking about paths, we normally cross paths with someone, never to realize that when will we meet that person once again. And that is what exactly happened with me. 20 years back, when I was doing my MBA from Symbiosis SMHRD, Pune, I met a very, very sweet and kind at heart person called Pooja Khanna. And lo and behold, we went on our own different paths, our own different journeys for about 20 years. And then we meet once again now in totally new avatars for both of us, respectively, wherein I took my journey as a corporate leader, as a PR person, as an entrepreneur, and finally as a coach. And I think somewhat Pooja also followed a same journey. She also became a corporate journal, heading strategy for leading Fortune 500 companies, becoming a wellness entrepreneur, launching a platform called Begin to Heal, which became a big, big success and really touched upon a lot of lives in New York and in US. And finally, she found her calling and wrote her first book, which is called as The Art of Becoming Whole. And today, we're going to talk with Pooja and know all about her journey, her challenges, and how she rediscovered herself. So just give me a minute and I'll just bring on board Pooja. All right. Hi, Pooja. How are you?
Very well, Satish. How are you doing?
All well, all well. Everything is going awesome. So thanks so much for joining us today. And I think, as I was just saying, the path of life is so strange. We never know how we meet people once again, and that it has been, it's we were very different personalities 20 years back, and look at us now. We are in
That's
all
right.
very different words. Each having lived life, each having experienced things. So let's start this right away. And once again, first of all, congratulations on now becoming an author, and having written your first book, The Art of Becoming Whole. How's the response so far?
The response is so. First of all, thank you for that grand introduction. It was a lovely
Thank you.
introduction that you made, and thank you for jumping straight to the book. The response has actually been overwhelming. It's been beautiful. We've done really well. We've launched the book only 2 weeks ago, and we've done really well on it. And I think the most magical part of all of this is to receive the personal messages and the anecdotes and the stories and the narratives that I'm receiving from family, friends, acquaintances, or even strangers now, sharing those personal stories and how the book is having an impact on their lives. And I think that receiving those messages every single day for me is what's making my day. So, and that was the main reason for me to write this book. So I am absolutely thrilled.
No, awesome. I think I've read the book and I think I truly found it very inspiring and very transformative. So thanks so much for putting together all those thoughts, and I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of people. So we'll come back to the book, but let's kind of reflect a little bit on the journey so far. So if you can just maybe let us know, how were the last 20 years, and what were the major milestones that you met.
Yeah, so we were both friends back in college, so you know about me from there. And I joined the corporate world, and I stayed in the corporate world for about 13 years. So I worked in strategy and business development with companies like American Express, IBM, Pepsi, Microsoft, and Wipro. I did that, in my last role, I was leading strategy for American Express across Latin America. So I did that role, and through working in a very intense work environment, I think I developed something called adrenal fatigue. It was a condition that caused me a lot of debilitating weakness. So I took a step back and I decided to heal myself. And once I had healed myself, I built a platform in wellness, which is called Begin to Heal. And this platform was connecting people to alternative medicine practitioners and healers in the United States. So it was a very curated platform, and we had a very curated set of practitioners that we brought on board with this. I ran that company for a few years, and I just sold and made an exit of the company a few months ago. And so I took time to come back to India and spend this kind of quality time with my family, which I haven't done in almost 22 years. And all the spiritual spiritual learnings and personal growth lessons that I had learned in the last 5 or 6 years through my journey of leaving the corporate world, moving into wellness, becoming more spiritual. I think I translated that into this book, and then we launched this book, which is called The Art of Becoming Whole, about 2 weeks ago. So that's
Awesome.
in a little bit of a nutshell.
So that's interesting. You mentioned to me that I think one of the reasons that made that transition for you from a corporate czar to to a potential healer and a person who would then in effect launch her own platform of healers, and would touch and heal so many lives. And you mentioned to me that it was your personal health issues which kind of triggered that change in you.
Hmm.
But other than that, how was that whole journey? How did that whole transition happen? From leaving the hustle bustle of corporate life, and to do something which is totally unconventional. Looking at practical alternatives, practical meditative alternatives. Something which people normally do not associate with someone who would be heading corporate strategy with a Fortune 500 company as you was. So how was the experience? What was that? Few personal learnings that you really kind of faced or learned during the whole journey, and which really kind of motivated you to make this transition.
Yeah, so I think coming out of a business school, I think in my 20s, a lot of my life was led by my ego. And in terms of, I was following a lot of materialistic ways of living. In terms of, I want to reach a certain level in the corporate ladder. I want to win a certain number of awards. Not only do I want to do well, I want to get the top ratings in the companies that I'm in. I did very well. I traveled across countries. I won 17 awards in a 13-year career. I did well, but it came at the cost of my health. And um, and when your health goes down, I think you realize the rest of the entire universe around you just collapses, and nothing else seems more important.
Right.
And it wasn't just the corporate side. I even think in my personal life, I was embodying a lot of characteristics of issues related with anger, issues related with victim consciousness, issues related with strong reactions. I would get triggered, and every time I was triggered, I would react strongly. I think for the most part, people who know me well know me to be a kind, loving, compassionate person, but I always had issues with my reactions, I think, for decades. So I think all of that was collapsing around me. I felt like my entire world around me was, closing in on me, not just on my physical health, but also my emotional health, my spiritual health. I think all of it was calling out to me, it was screaming out to me to say that change is needed, a shift is needed. You don't need to live for others. You don't need to prove yourself for anybody else around you. You need to live for yourself. You need to live for your soul. My purpose in life has to be larger than simply following a corporate ladder and going down the beaten path. It wasn't serving my highest self, so to speak. And so I wanted to make that transition, and I felt very passionately about holistic wellness. So my father is the head of a large pharmaceutical company, so I've grown up around medicine. So I tried a lot of Western medicines for myself to heal myself, but it didn't help anything. The side effects made me worse, and so I moved towards holistic medicine. And that's how I healed myself. So I did a lot of acupuncture, hypnotherapy, meditations, nature walks. I changed my diets, all of those things. And I did a lot of spiritual counseling. And what I call spiritual wellness was the medicine that I used and I healed myself back to full strength. And so that was in about 2013, and that's when my spiritual journey really started, or at least deepened. And so I'm not a healer myself. I just brought together a platform of people who are acupuncturists, chiropractors, naturopaths, Ayurvedic doctors, Reiki healers, all of them together. But I'm not a healer myself. I felt like helping other people heal who are not able to find solutions for themselves, and bringing a good group of people together to help them heal was the first part of my purpose in life. And I think the second part of my larger purpose that I'm serving for me is through this book, which is now launched. But I think
Right.
those are the two ways in which I think I feel a lot. My soul feels happier. I feel happier in having done these things.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's. I mean, that must be some very profound experiences that you must have gone through. I'm sure.
Yeah, that they've been deep experiences, they've been hard-hitting experiences, they've been difficult experiences. It's,
Yeah,
transformation and change isn't magical. It
yeah,
isn't all beautiful. It isn't all one sudden day I realize I have to let go of my old ways of being, I have to let go of my old patterns, I have to let go of my reactions, and all of a sudden the next day I'm this new person. It doesn't work that way. You keep rising and improving on those points that you're working with, and then you slip back again, and then you keep rising and you keep slipping again. So you have to be very mindful to keep going on a day to day basis to to make that shift happen and to stay changed. And then when you look back at yourself a couple of years down the line and you realize, okay, I actually don't respond the way I used to, and maybe that change has genuinely happened. But that takes time and a lot of self work to get.
wow, that's interesting. So you mentioned about this book, which you mentioned that this book is hopefully the second step, or the second channel for you to spread your message to the world. How was the whole experience? How did when did you decide to pen down your thoughts into a book? What was the whole experience all about? What was the learnings? How did you decide that? Because I think I read the book, and it covers a very wide range of topics.
Yeah.
It covers from goes from fighting your depressions, fighting your anger, fighting your fears. It also talks about a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of psychological techniques that other coaches and other authors have also used. Be it dealing with your inner child, be it dealing with and the book has a lot of positive affirmations at the end of every chapter, which I
Mhm.
think is one of the most beautiful part of it. So, how did it all happen? How did it all fall into one place, and what was the experience through?
Yeah, so I have been taking a lot of spiritual guidance sessions myself with my spiritual coach for the last 5 years. Once a month, I take sessions, and also earlier this year, I took a lot of personal therapy sessions. So I worked with a well-known therapist from Bombay. I did a lot of hypnotherapy sessions on the phone and video sessions with her for 3 months. So I consistently took those, and I think come March, I found that there was a big shift in me. Now the shift has been happening over years, as I've said, but I took specific period out of my life this January and March to make those grand changes in my life. Sort of behavioral changes, and then end of March or so, actually, it's just through the end of one deep meditation. I think this may not resonate with everyone, but the words started to come automatically to me, and the idea came to me at the end of a very deep meditation that I'm going to write down and share my experiences. Maybe it the idea initially was to do a memoir, and then later on I just said I'm going to convert it to a book. And I started to write, and I was writing for 15 days straight,
Wow.
and I had written over 100 pages, and I was shocked because I had never written before. In fact, communication has not been one of my strengths. I have a lot of other strengths, but this wasn't one of them. So I was very surprised with my own self that I can write, and that I have so much even to say or think. But when I began to look back at my notes over the last 5 years of everything I've imbibed through sessions with my coaches and my therapists, I realized that there's all this wisdom, all this knowledge, all these things that I have in my arsenal. I want to share it with the world. And I didn't even mind if 5 people read my book and
Right.
5 people healed. Because if 5 people heal, they heal and change the way they respond to 50 people around them, and the entire universe around them begins to shift. So it
Right.
isn't just about the people who read the book, it's about every person they touch and they respond to, their staff at home, their family, their friends, their professional contacts and networks, everyone. So I didn't anticipate being a career author. I think I wrote this book. I think the message was channeled from a higher source or something. If you can say, it does come from a lot of my own learnings. And each and every chapter that I've written about, whether it's anger, victim consciousness, disappointments, depression, whether it's how to be content with what you have, to learn to be grateful, the lessons of gratitude, which we take for granted, or to
Yeah.
stop complaining, and then how to rise higher and then kind of connect with consciousness. Just all of those are my own personal experiences. Now, I haven't written a whole lot about myself in the book because I didn't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the lessons that I learned during this time. So the first half of the book really focuses on deep cleansing, kind of to release those the deeper issues that you have within yourselves. And I think the second half of the book focuses on rising higher, because I don't think you can rise higher until you have finished cleaning the old patterns, because until you don't, those patterns will keep coming back in your life again and again and again. So that was how I broke down the book into two different sections, and it took me about 5 to 6 months to pull the book together, and then here we are.
Wow, wow, that's really inspiring. So if I look at it from a reader perspective, right? I think while you have mentioned a lot of thoughts and a lot of reasons that what went behind writing the book, right? From for our audience out here and from a reader perspective, if you could maybe just talk about 2 or 3 reasons, why should anyone pick up this book? What do you think, should anyone get inspired to read through the pages of The Art of Becoming Whole by Pooja Khanna?
Yeah, so I would say, let me think about this. I think the three things or the three reasons to want to read this book, I think the first one to kind of would be to, release those patterns, those projections, those triggers, or those people, relationships, or situations which don't serve you anymore, and to be able to do that with grace, ease, and lightness in your life. To begin to see that everyone around you is really your own mirror and your own projection is a very bitter pill to swallow for most people. But once you do, you heal a major part of yourself. I think this is one very key thing. If you're able to pick up from the book, I think I'd be happy with that. I think a second thing would be that you will start to get a lot of your self-worth from yourself, instead of seeking approval or validation from people around you. And a lot of us, irrespective of how successful we are, how well known we are, how famous we are, how rich we are, how connected we are, we still seek validation in one form or another from other people in our life. Maybe it's just our family unit, maybe it's our wives or husbands, maybe it's our bosses, maybe it's our friends. And if you don't seek that, it can diminish your self-worth, and that shouldn't happen. Right? What you have in abundance in yourself, you don't crave from others.
Right.
And so if your self-worth is so strong and coming from inside you, you don't look for it from others. And I think that's one of the second reasons to pick the book, is to develop that strong sense of self-worth. And I think the third thing, as cliche as it sounds, is to connect with the most basic principles of joy, peace, contentment, gratitude, connecting with your higher self, connecting with consciousness. Very basic lessons, but I end the book with very basic lessons because we have forgotten them. And and if you're able to connect with consciousness, you're able to connect with source, divine energy, as I call it, because I'm more spiritual, I'm not religious. And I think that would be the third thing or takeaway. It's kind of that spiritual or that personal growth for yourself. So I think those might be the three main reasons why somebody could or would want to read the book. So yes, I always say, whether you are looking for personal growth, or whether you're dealing with mental health issues of anxiety, depression, loneliness, I think this book can really help you. And, if you try reading the book, and for those of you who have, if you open any page of the book, you can immediately see that that chapter will speak to you. You don't have to go sequentially. Go with the chapters that resonate with you, read those, come back to the other ones if you want. But, that's how I would suggest reading the book.
Awesome. So, as I mentioned that, the book has a lot of different sections. It's got a lot of transformative content in it. Maybe if you have time and if you have the book with you right now, would you like to point out or read maybe one or two, some kind of paragraphs or learnings that you really like, from the entire book, and something that that can kind of give a taste of what's in the book to our audience out here, if you have time to maybe read the paragraph or something.
Yeah, so I do have the book with me, because you did ask me to keep the book next to me, so I do have it right here.
Thank you so much.
And then so I guess I'll pick up 3 parts of the book that I really like. I think they help me a lot, and these are, as I said, the bitter pills to swallow for people. These are the harder lessons, but I want to talk about the harder lessons, because the easier lessons, I think we've heard them again and again.
Sure.
So I think the first one is, I think, a section called projection, which comes from the second chapter, which is, which says everyone really is your mirror. And so this section reads as follows. It says projection is an unconscious way of denying the existence of something inside ourselves and attributing it to others and externalizing it. Every single person and the way you perceive them is a projection of your own thoughts, stories, beliefs, and prejudices. We throw all the uncomfortable feelings and shame that we feel for ourselves, and we land up making others feel guilty for actually who we are because we shy away from wanting to feel that guilt ourselves. So our worlds are really a projection of our inner state. What you're thinking about anybody else really isn't about them, it's about you. So if it's easy to see those traits in others which you don't like in them, but it's very difficult to realize that you possess exactly those same traits. So when you see something that you really intensely dislike in another, you can be sure that that trait exists in you. Which means this isn't about you may see aspects of growth in other people which you don't like, but those are not the flaws. This person always angry? Why is that person irritable? Why is this person part
I
of you
think
that gets angry too? You don't like seeing somebody else in the victim mentality because you have the victim mentality too. Maybe in less or a higher intensity, but you definitely have it. So I think that's one interesting lesson for me on projection. Let me flip through to another portion. It's page 66. The chapter says self-worth your way through life. And this is what I was speaking about earlier. It says we don't crave from others what we have in abundance in ourselves. So when you build enough self-love, self-approval, and acceptance, you stop seeking it from others. So fill yourself up first, love yourself first, and know that you're lovable with your flaws. Someone else's love or lack of love can never shake this truth. So don't ever look to others to fill you up. They will never be able to do that, nor should they have to. No other person can understand you completely because no one else walked in your shoes. To be honest, they shouldn't have to understand you because it is not their job to like you, it is yours. You need to understand yourself, you need to accept yourself, you need to heal yourself, and you need to learn to validate yourself. So stop seeking approval and giving up that power that you have and start tuning into your own intuition to empower yourself. So learn to validate your own self. I think this is like a very key part of the book for me. And the third thing, you know, many people may not accept this, but this is kind of a universal truth, which is to transcend your disappointment. We feel disappointed with so many people around us in our lives, right? And so this is a section coming from transcending expectations and disappointment. And this says every human being on the planet has an intrinsically deep relationship with disappointment. Not only have we been carrying it over lifetimes within us, we've also been projecting that disappointment onto all our relationships and then choosing to feel let down. It is so deeply rooted in our subconscious mind that we don't even realize that we are seeking disappointment in our current life and continuing to project it onto others. It's because we feel disappointed and empty inside us, that void, that lackness inside us. But instead of being aware of that, we look for someone or something around us to project that disappointment on. So when you don't feel good, you will create circumstances around you that will make you feel worse, actually, so that you can blame that situation or the people around you for your unhappiness. So I will stop reading and I want to explain just what this means, because this, as I said, is a hard one for people to accept. But if you're already in an existing mood where you're feeling disappointed, probably with yourself, probably with your own life situation, the subconscious mind will create a situation or a fight or an argument with someone around you because you want to look for disappointment in someone else, because it's very hard for you to accept that you're actually disappointed with yourself. So you will look for disappointment in your children, in your siblings, in your parents, in your bosses, but the disappointment that you're feeling is not in them. It is in yourself. Because everybody and everything around you is your mirror end of the day. So that would be the third important lesson to talk about in the book.
awesome, awesome, Pooja. I'm sure that there are so many interesting nuggets in this book, and every person who will go through it will definitely feel that transformation for a while. But that is where the challenge comes, and that is what my next question also comes. I understand that once I pick up your book, and I will get transformed maybe for a and that impact will last with me maybe for a week, for 15 days. But
Mhm.
normally, since you have been in this business, or in this domain of healing and helping other people, and as you yourself have mentioned in the book, you know sometimes our patterns and our own disappointments or our own failures are so strong within us that even if someone shows us light for an instance, you
Yeah,
know we may just go back into our old phase. We will just slip back. It's very difficult to hold on to a new thing.
absolutely.
And I think you also mentioned in one of the chapters that, and as you rightly said, transformation is not easy. It's
Hmm.
not easy to change into new yourself, or it's not easy to become whole. you
Hmm.
know
No,
so
it's not.
so in that case, and I think you mentioned in the book that you were fortunate enough to have certain coaches to help you guide you, help to guide you on a consistent basis. you know
Hmm.
and so how do you suggest that if someone really wants to truly become whole and truly become transformed, while your book definitely could be the first step towards it,
Hmm.
right? How do I kind of sustain that thought in me? How do I, what should I do that I am able to, keep believing in what you're saying,
Yeah,
and not slip back to whatever the society or whatever I've learned so far, because it's not easy. It's seriously
yeah.
not easy.
Yeah, yeah. No, your question is absolutely the most important question one should ask when they're in a journey of personal development or spiritual development, because a lot of people give up on them.
Okay, I think we have lost her. Just a minute, guys. I'll try to bring her back. I've asked her to relog in, so hold on to the excitement. Yeah, I'm sorry, Pooja. I think I
My
lost.
apologies. My Wi-Fi connection is a little weak here, so my
Yeah, yeah.
apologies for that.
No worries, no
I'm
worries.
sorry about.
I
I'm
think
sorry
I
about
think
that.
Wi-Fi is okay, but we want to strengthen our spiritual connection. We can.
That's right. Well said. That's smart. So yeah. So I would say that. Sorry, what was the question we were on? Maybe I got lost for a second.
So no,
How
I
do you
was
come
asking.
back? Yes. How do you
Yeah,
come back? I think this is a very
yeah,
pertinent question, because for a lot of people, when they begin to slip back on themselves, they begin to judge themselves. They begin to resent themselves. They begin to get guilt. And the moment you add guilt, guilt attracts more self punishment, which means you will attract more of what you are actually feeling guilty about, and land up becoming more of yourself which you're trying to let go of. So first of all, accept your humanness. I think that's very important. We are all human. Accept your humanness and expect yourself to slip. The path to spirituality isn't a linear path. It is, and sometimes you'll dip very badly and then you'll rise back higher. What's
right,
important is every time you slip, once you're on the path of personal development or spiritual development, you begin to notice those slip backs, and
right.
you begin to want to come back stronger and faster. Just your desire to want to be better than who you were last and continue to want to work in yourself is your victory. Once you leave the path, that's your failure. Your victory is not just your absolute victory that now I have changed or healed this aspect of yourself. Your victory is staying on the path and wanting to stay connected with yourself. So I think that's very important. I think getting external help in the form of a spiritual coach, a therapist, doing hypnotherapy, doing deep inner child healing work, getting an EFT coach, emotional freedom techniques. I've talked about it in the book, where you actually tap the points across your face in a fixed fashion, actually releases a lot of your stress, anxiety, depression, anger, your poverty consciousness, people who think, oh, I don't have enough money all the time. All of that can be released through EFT tapping, hypnotherapy, a spiritual coach. So find help, take help, look for help, even if you're normal, even if you live a so-called normal life and are not dealing with deep depression of any sorts. Take help on a consistent basis, have a sounding board. It makes a big difference. And the third thing is to not make those coaches or therapists a crutch in your life.
Yeah,
Is at some point we all have to realize in our own arsenal we have enough knowledge, we have enough power, we have enough wisdom within ourselves to actually stay true to the course. A lot of us forget that how much we already know, if we only practice what we already know is the right way to be and think, I think we would all be very sorted human beings. A lot of us forget those lessons, and sometimes those reminders, which come in a different form of fashion, be it in the form of books or affirmations or guided meditations or in the form of therapists or even friends who are honest enough with you to give you honest feedback. These are these are absolute blessings in life to have.
right.
So, so I would say first is to accept your humanness. Second is to take help from external people. And I think the third would be to just implement what you already know instead of continuing to look for new things. And the reason this book covers a wide variety of issues is so that you don't have to go out there and buy 10 different books, one on each topic.
Yeah, yeah,
Each chapter in this being focuses on kind of one aspect of yourself that needs to be brought into wholeness, so to say. So just kind of unravel or peel the layers of of the onion, and you will find that deep inside we are all such pure, powerful beings. All of us are. Even that man who goes out there and probably murders 4 people, it is easy for us to just judge him for those actions. I'm not saying accept them in your life, but I'm saying even at their core, even that person who you resent, you think has done something, it's the absolute core of your beings. It's the layers, the ego, the societal cultural conditioning, societal conditioning, your parental conditioning has added, your exposure added, that has made you this certain person. So our realities differ for each one of us,
right.
but at our core, we are all cut.
All right. I think her net is giving certain issues, so just please give me a few more minutes, and I will try to have her back. Yeah, Pooja. Sorry, I think we
Yeah,
lost you again.
sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. All right. So I think, we have got the crux of what you've been trying to say, and indeed, there was a very interesting question that one of the audience asked us. Harsh Thakkar, who's seeing us on LinkedIn, and I think he basically asked this question when you were mentioning about that. If we dislike someone, we need to look inside ourselves first. On why are we disliking the other person?
Mhm.
Because somewhere we are lacking in something in us itself, right?
Mhm.
And so Hers is asking that the people who dislike terrorists or who dislike terrorism, do you mean to say that are they terrorists themselves, or do they like, or do they, do they want to like terrorist activities? I mean, I do not know. I mean, it's a very funny twist to the whole question. But how would you answer that?
Yeah, no. So those are not the things that would intensely bother you on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, yeah,
What the book says and what I'm saying is those things which you intensely dislike and it bothers you consistently over a period of time in another, and you judge them for it on an everyday basis. If you tell somebody that this person is really arrogant, and you notice arrogance in a lot of people, it's because you're arrogant too and you just don't want to accept it in yourself. Or if you see anger in other people, like I used to have a lot of anger issues. I've learned to heal them over a lot of hard work that I've done on myself.
yeah.
But every time I noticed anger in another, it's because that anger was represented in me as well. So what I'm saying is, when you see a terrorist, you don't like what they do, it angers you, but momentarily. You don't wake up every morning thinking about the terrorist and what he did. You
That's true.
don't.
That's
But
true.
you do about your wife or your husband, and you're like, why is this person so selfish, for instance? Let's, for an example. So those, yeah.
So I get it. Awesome. All right. So from a corporate position to a wellness entrepreneurship and to an author, So now, what's next for Pooja?
So I haven't really thought through what's next for me. I think I like now to not dictate my life and not make it predictable. Who knew at the start of this year that I would have sold my company, that I would have started a wellness consulting business, or that I would have authored a book? I wouldn't have thought of that of myself. So at
So
this point, I am consulting with a lot of wellness industry players in America as their chief strategy officer. So
awesome.
I am doing that as a freelance consultant for a few wellness companies. I will keep doing that. And I'm currently in India. When I go back to New York, I might look for something in the wellness world, but I'm not thinking very hard about it right now.
Go with the flow, huh?
Going with the flow.
Awesome. All right. So I think we should be able to conclude now. What would be your concluding remark? What is that last thing that you want to leave your audience with today?
I would say stay grounded and steady in the choices that you're making, and stay grounded and rooted in yourself when you're releasing those people or situations in your life which don't serve you anymore, and to kind of create very healthy, energetic boundaries around yourself so that you're not caught in a constant whirlwind of fear and anger and neglect and negativity. So if
Right.
that means limiting the amount of media that you see and stop bombarding yourself with media and images that are causing so much anxiety and fear in all of us, especially through this pandemic, disconnect from it. Focus on the controllables in your life. Focus
Right.
on what you can control. Focus on your reaction. Focus on who you are. Focus on your family. Focus on your work. Focus on the people you are around with. Focus on the controllables more than the uncontrollables to kind of reduce that anxiety or fear that's perpetuating around the world. So, and then I would absolutely always, I like to end most of my talks by saying, please learn to practice daily gratitude, compassion, and forgiveness. All these three things are very important. So I personally write down in my gratitude journal, which is an app that I have. I write in it every single day for the last 2 years, and it's the best thing to happen to me. It's a great reminder of, even if I had a wonderful meal, I actually pen that down in my app. So let's not take anything around us for granted, because nothing's promised to us forever.
Awesome, awesome. I think that was a beautiful talk, and thanks so much for taking out time today. What I will do is I will just hold for 2 more minutes, and I will allow the audience if they would like to leave or have some questions for you, and if not, then maybe we'll kind of wrap it up for today.
Okay.
And meanwhile, while the audience thinks of the question, why don't you tell that where people can get your book so that they can order it also.
Yeah, so you can get this book on Amazon, Kindle in India, and Flipkart. You can get it on Apple Books as well, and it's also available in bookstores across India. But at this point in time, nobody is going out to bookstores, which is why for us at this point, Amazon and Kindle and Apple books have become the predominant way of you to get your hands on the book. And I hope
Right.
you do.
Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right.
All right. So I think with that, we will maybe this week. I think we'll conclude it for time being. And if I get any more questions, I will definitely mail it to you. Right, Pooja?
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, and all the best with the book, and all the best with life. And thank you for being with us today and inspiring us. Thank you.
And to you too. Thank you, Satish, for having me. Thank you.
Bye.